My name is Paul Stevers, and I'm going to introduce you to an opportunity to substantially increase funding for climate action in developing countries. This opportunity has emerged due to advancements in climate solution technologies, growth of climate finance, and increased awareness that many countries urgently need more money to achieve their climate action goals and counter the effects of the global food crisis. First, I will provide some brief background information about the current situation. As a result of the world's slowing economy and significant adverse impacts of climate change, most developing countries need substantially increased funding to implement their nationally determined contributions, or NDCs, and counter the effects of the global food crisis. This food crisis is leading to increased conflict and forced migration, which in turn is creating political instability in several countries. Reports about the scale of the food crisis are very concerning. For example, the UN reported that approximately 828 million people were affected by hunger in 2021. In addition to the needs of individual countries, there is an urgent collective need to mitigate or sequester greenhouse gas emissions on a sufficiently large scale to prevent global catastrophe. While I attended the UN Climate Conference, or COP27, in Egypt, the parties at this conference agreed to establish a new fund for responding to loss and damage in developing countries. But we expect this will take a considerable amount of time before any funds can be dispersed by this new fund. For a comparison of the time it takes to set up a new international fund, one can consider the Green Climate Fund, which was established under the Cancun Agreements in 2010. The GCF indicates on its website that it approved its first project for funding in 2015. Therefore, it appears that it will take a considerable amount of time to implement the Loss and Damage Fund. As a result, another pathway is needed for developing countries to receive funding to address their current problems and implement large-scale action to meet their NDCs. Now I will outline some brief facts illustrating the urgent need for large-scale climate action. Global atmospheric CO2 levels are rising at a rapid rate. For example, in the last 17 years, atmospheric CO2 levels have risen about as much as they did over the 200 years after the start of the Industrial Revolution. This is a drastic increase that has caused extreme weather storms, heat waves, flooding, and wildfires. For more information about these rapidly rising CO2 levels, you can visit our webpage at this short link, climatesand.org/QFCO. The Global Carbon Project has estimated that over 40 billion tons of CO2 were released in 2022 alone. As you can see from this graph, there is a massive action gap between our current warming pathway and what is needed to be done to limit warming to 1.5 degrees above pre-industrial levels. If we continue on the current pathway, we are expected to be increasing warming by 2.75 degrees C by 2100, which will be catastrophic. After considering the current global warming pathway we are on, you may be asking yourself, what can be done to mitigate GHG emissions, food shortages, forced migration, and conflict in developing countries? If so, you may be interested in an opportunity we feel has emerged to mitigate these problems, which I will outline in the next several slides. Fortunately, there is a growing number of climate solutions that mitigate climate change and provide considerable co-benefits. On the next few slides, I will highlight some of these climate solutions. The first example climate solution is biochar. Shown here is a photo taken at a research plot that the Norwegian Research Council had put together in 2014 to measure the agricultural effects of various levels of biochar that has been incorporated into the soil. As you can see, when biochar is added into the soil, it can enable the soil to grow substantially more food. Biochar is made from heating biomass in an oxygen-limited environment, and when placed in the soil, it remains there for hundreds of years. As a result, it mitigates carbon emissions and enables farmers to grow more food. There are now multiple organizations paying farmers to produce biochar and place it in their soil. For example, Biochar Life is focusing on training and paying smallholder farmers in Africa and Southeast Asia to produce and utilize biochar. To view more information about biochar and the opportunity to implement it on a global scale, visit the webpage shown here, which you can access via this short link, charityhelp.org/biochar. Shown here are 3 more examples of climate solutions that also provide co-benefits. The example shown below biochar is microalgae, which can capture carbon and provide benefits such as producing food-grade oil and biodegradable plastics. One company implementing carbon capture with microalgae is Brilliant Planet. The next climate solution is cactus farming, which can capture carbon as well as produce drought-resistant food and be converted into various other useful products. Finally, bamboo farming can also capture carbon and then be used for construction materials for furniture or buildings. There are several more climate solutions that mitigate climate change and provide co-benefits. These types of solutions are being advocated by Project Drawdown through their Drawdown Lift initiative. More specifically, this initiative advocates for about 28 climate solutions that have multiple benefits such as boosting well-being, strengthening resilience, and contributing to poverty alleviation in rural communities. To view a fact sheet about the Drawdown Lift initiative, visit climatesan/DLFS. As a result of the increased awareness of the urgent need for very large-scale climate action, a growing number of available climate solutions with co-benefits, and the awareness that many developing countries urgently need more economic assistance, a possible pathway to reach an agreement for increased funding of climate action in these countries has emerged. In this presentation, I will outline this pathway, some notable climate solutions with co-benefits, and how we in Canada can help implement this pathway. To help explain this proposed pathway, we created this concise one-sentence summary, which is: developed countries fund a substantial scale-up of climate solutions in developing countries that mitigate climate change as well as providing significant co-benefits. The UN has stated that the world is heading towards climate catastrophe. However, despite this devastating news, there appears to be so far no agreement reached to substantially reduce global greenhouse gas emissions. As a result of speaking with some country representatives from developing countries at the UN Climate Conference in Egypt last year, some developing countries, including Nigeria, have expressed interest in our possible pathway to substantially increase funding for these countries to mitigate climate change. There are some beneficial key areas that this pathway would help in reaching an agreement amongst developed and developing countries. There are 3 targeted key areas of benefit that this pathway can provide. First, it helps meet the global targets to substantially reduce the GHG emissions that are currently being emitted. Secondly, this pathway can help create additional co-benefits, including increasing food supply, which helps reduce conflict and forced migration. Finally, it will provide relief to developing countries because it will help alleviate the economic crisis that many of these countries are currently experiencing. Due to the amount of carbon dioxide that is being released into the atmosphere every year, we will need to implement economically beneficial solutions that will help reduce the CO2 output numbers in order to meet the goals of the Paris Accord and also provide economic benefit to the countries that need to meet their NDCs. Therefore, I will highlight some selected climate solutions that are available to mitigate carbon emissions and also provide significant co-benefits. We've researched 19 selected climate solutions, which includes some of the solutions from the Drawdown Lift initiative. If these solutions were to be implemented on a global scale, they are estimated to reduce or sequester about 26 billion tons of CO2 annually, which is more than half of what is currently being emitted. To view this list of selected climate solutions, you can visit the webpage shown at this short link, climatesand.org/SCS. Shown on the next two slides is a proposed pathway sequence that we feel can help reach an agreement to increase funding for climate action in developing countries. The pathway steps are as follows. Add up all the funding requested by developing countries to enable them to meet their nationally determined contributions, or NDCs, that are contained in the UNFCCC NDC registry. Estimate the financial gap between what the developing countries are asking in order to meet their NDCs and what developed countries are offering. Demonstrate climate solutions that mitigate or sequester GHG emissions and create co-benefits. This information can be shared amongst country negotiating teams about the proven climate solutions that can mitigate or remove greenhouse gas emissions, as well as provide multiple co-benefits. Create awareness amongst country negotiating teams about the private sector finance, such as green bonds, that can complement public sector finance in scaling up climate solutions in developing countries. Estimate the amount of ongoing funding to developing countries that can be provided by companies paying for carbon credits to reach their respective net zero commitments. Developed and developing countries discuss and negotiate how much funding to be provided for large-scale GHG emissions mitigation and/or carbon removal projects with co-benefits in developing countries. Developed countries agree to fund a substantial scale-up of climate solutions in developing countries that mitigate climate change, as well as providing significant co-benefits. Finally, redo the steps if needed. For example, if developing countries update their NDCs with increased emission mitigation commitments, then the steps shown should be repeated. Next, I will talk about how Nigeria is in a unique position to play a lead role in advocating for more funding for developing countries to implement climate solutions with co-benefits. Due to its leadership position in West Africa and its capabilities, there is an opportunity for the government of Nigeria to play a lead role in enhancing and implementing the proposed pathway to increase funding for climate action in developing countries. Nigeria can demonstrate climate solutions that mitigate or sequester GHG emissions and create co-benefits, as well as create awareness about these selected solutions with other developing countries. Nigeria has access to considerable funding that can be used to fund demonstrations of selected climate solutions with co-benefits. There is an urgent need for more proposal writers who can prepare professional quality proposals for implementing climate solutions. As a result, proposal writers in Canada can help play a key role in demonstrating climate solutions with co-benefits in developing countries such as Nigeria. Together with our partners in Nigeria, we have already prepared a cactus farming proposal, but several more proposals are needed. For example, we need a team of people to research options for implementing a biochar demonstration project and then prepare a proposal relating to this climate solution. Additional proposals are needed for projects that include other climate solutions with co-benefits. Once these proposals are completed, they can be adapted for implementation in other developing countries. There are several funding sources available to fund climate solution projects with co-benefits. Given below are some notable ones. First is the Catalytic Climate Finance Facility, which has issued a special call for ideas targeting climate adaptation for agriculture in sub-Saharan Africa and South Asia. Next is the Philanthropy for Climate Initiative with 635 member foundations committed to acts on climate. Next is the Acumen Resilient Agricultural Fund, or ARAF, which has $58 million impact fund and the world's first equity fund designed to build climate resilience of smallholder farmers. Next is the Canada-Africa Development Bank Climate Fund, which is designed to embed gender equality principles in projects, particularly for the empowerment of women and girls. Next is the Global Agricultural and Food Security Program, which is a $220 million global multilateral fund dedicated to reducing food insecurity and poverty in low-income countries. The World Bank is providing considerable funding to Nigeria already. For example, the World Bank has funded a $700 million fund for the Nigeria Agro-Climatic Resilience in Semi-Arid Landscapes, or ACRISEL project. To view some more information about funding options, visit Climate Finance Resources Relating to Africa or this short link, climatesand.org/CFRA. As shown in the previous slide, there is a considerable amount of funding available to fund demonstration of climate solutions. Since the government of Nigeria is very receptive to implementing these solutions in Nigeria, they can help facilitate this funding process. We invite individual proposal writers and organizations to help prepare professional quality proposals about selected climate solutions and submit them to multiple funding sources, including the Nigerian government. Once funding is obtained from one or more sources for a funding proposal, the writers of this proposal would be compensated for their time. Now I will discuss our initiative to expand the use of free offline education resources, which includes considerable information about climate solutions. Shown here is some information regarding our initiative to expand free offline education resources. Recently, a nonprofit I founded called Charity Help International has soft launched an initiative to expand the use of free offline education resources in developing countries, which include information about climate solutions. Given below are some key points of this initiative. Charity Help's initiative helps individuals and organizations convert old personal computers to offline educational information servers. These offline education servers can serve a wide range of educational content in multiple languages to nearby smartphones, tablets, and personal computers via Wi-Fi. In addition to typical educational content such as Khan Academy, we have created an educational information package about selected climate solutions with co-benefits. Shown in the next set of slides is more information about our initiative. Shown here is some more information about our initiative. Old personal computers are converted to offline educational information servers using apps such as Calibri by Learning Equality and Kiwix. We have created an educational information package about selected climate solutions with co-benefits that can be shared widely via the Calibri app. This initiative supports Project Drawdown's family planning and educational solution, which advocates for universal access to quality education for all children and voluntary family planning for all girls, women, and couples. The next slide illustrates how personal computers can be converted to offline educational information servers. Shown here is a simplified step-by-step process for converting old personal computers into educational information servers. These servers would be installed with both Calibri and Kiwix, which are each information server apps that serve a wide range of educational content to users. Shown here are two example educational channels in Calibri. The first is Khan Academy, which provides videos and exercises in math, physics, chemistry, biology, and history. Each topic is covered through intuitive video explanations and provides numerous practice exercises to help students achieve mastery of the subjects. The second is our Climate Smart Education e-library, which includes information about a wide range of climate solutions. Shown here are two example educational electronic books that are available from Kiwix and can be served by the Kiwix app to nearby devices via Wi-Fi. The first is Wikipedia for Students, and the second is a selection of Wikipedia articles about climate change. We plan to enhance our educational package about climate solutions with co-benefits with information from the Drawdown Lift initiative. This initiative advocates for climate solutions that have multiple benefits for boosting well-being, strengthening resilience, and contributing to poverty alleviation in rural communities. In addition, they indicate that investing in women and girls is essential in the fight against climate change and emphasizes the urgent need for the focus on the most vulnerable. Here is an initiative that people in Canada who want to help facilitate more climate action in Africa may want to join. It is called the Africa Climate Action Initiative that is being implemented by the Canada-Africa Partnership Network. This organization enables individuals to raise money and implement projects in Africa. Next, I will outline our conclusions and recommendations. There is an opportunity to substantially increase funding for climate action in developing countries. Given below are some reasons why we feel this opportunity has emerged. A slowing global economy and significant adverse impacts of climate change is creating more awareness that many developing countries need to substantially increase funding to be able to implement their NDCs and cope with the global food crisis. Growing awareness that global carbon emissions continue to rise at a rapid rate, which is in turn creating more understanding that climate action needs to be implemented at a much faster rate. There are many climate solutions with co-benefits that can be implemented in developing countries that can substantially reduce carbon emissions and improve the lives of people there. There is an opportunity to share information about climate solutions widely in developing countries through low-cost, offline educational information servers that can serve this information via Wi-Fi to nearby smartphones, tablets, and computers. The Nigeria government can play a key role in facilitating funding of demonstration projects that can include climate solutions with co-benefits. Individual proposal writers and organizations in Canada can collaborate with organizations in Nigeria to prepare proposals to implement selected climate solutions. The Canada-Africa Partnership Network, Africa Climate Action Initiative, or ACAI, can facilitate this collaboration. If you are a proposal writer and would like to help scale up climate solutions with co-benefits in developing countries, I recommend you consider the following. Become more familiar with climate solutions with co-benefits by visiting the web page outlined at the end of this presentation and visiting Drawdown Lift section of the Project Drawdown website. View content from our offline educational information server that is set up at this conference. If you are not at this conference, visit this short link, charityhelp.org/kdemo. If you want to help implement climate action in Africa, consider joining the Canada-Africa Partnership Network's Africa Climate Action Initiative, or ACAI. Consider preparing your own proposals for selected climate solutions or helping other organizations prepare these proposals. Research likely funders for your proposal or proposals and then send these potential funders a letter of inquiry about your proposed project. If you receive a positive response from the potential funder, then send your proposal to this funder. Thank you for taking the time to view this presentation. If you are interested in more detailed information about this opportunity and any links or organizations mentioned in this presentation, please visit climatesan.org/IFCA.